Here we come, blue and white, and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight, and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job, and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Brunton Bugle, the number one place to get your Carlisle United fix in the podcast world. I'm Lee Rooney.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
Brunton Park 0, Jack Frost 1. The Cumbrian derby falls foul of the weather, but United remain in the playoff positions. We reflect on that postponement and the upcoming winter fixture list, including a preview of this weekend's clash with Northampton Town at Sixfields.
With a pass so true to Boulder Stone and Clark's in view. There's a cross and a run, the old 1-2 and a shot.
We got there in the end, Dan, didn't we? That a bit more difficult this week because, as you can probably tell by hearing my voice right now, I've got a bit of a cold, as we both have actually, Dan, haven't we? So it's
yeah, you've got the cough, I've got the sniffles.
Yeah, so this could be, even though it's supposed to be actually quite a short recording for the pair of us, this could actually end up being quite a bit longer than we intended. But yeah, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Bit disappointed about last weekend being off?
Yeah, I think from Tuesday, Wednesday, it was obvious it was going to be a battle. I mean, it's normally when we get a cold spell around these parts, it's a couple of days, but this has been a solid week now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And if anything, we're recording on Wednesday. Last night was probably the coldest night of the lot, to be fair.
Yeah, it's been pretty cold down here. I think it was -4 in the morning, actually.
-4, about -9 here yesterday.
Well, yeah, you're a bit further up, aren't you, than Liverpool? But there you go. Yeah, I'm with you. I've sort of split on it. And with the weather being as it was, I was kind of glad it was called off because it wouldn't have been much fun standing in that cold for the 90 minutes and having to drive back down to watch the England game later as well. Part of me was kind of like, what?
We'd have been all jumping up and down like an Argentinian tennis because we'd have been 5 up at half time.
Well, that's the thing.
With all my goal scorers from the
abandoned episode, yeah. So basically, if none of you'll have got to hear it, but Dan sent in his predictions last week. In fact, tell you what, I'm going to try and dig out your prediction because I think I've still got it saved here somewhere. So let me see if I can find Dan's prediction. I think this is the right one. So this is what Dan predicted for the Barrow game.
If we manage to beat the cold spell and the game is on, I'm going for a solid 8-0 win with goals from Edmondson, Dennis, Moxon, Guy, Feeney, Huntington, Mellish. Sorry, I'll have to scratch Feeney, he'll be injured, won't he? Armour to finally get one, and Gibson if he plays.
So yeah, that was your quite extraordinary prediction for the Barrow game, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, it's kind of one of those ones, isn't it, where we look back and think to yourself, it's just the way it is, isn't it, really?
Yeah. And the club have just announced a couple of hours ago it will be replayed on Tuesday, the 31st of January.
Couldn't they play on a Saturday?
What a lot of people haven't realised is third round cup day, League 2 has a full programme of 12 games. Always has done. Yeah. The only teams that don't play are those that get through to the third round of the cup. So obviously we were meant to be Hartlepool at home. They're in the cup. I think they play Stoke, is it?
Yes, I think they do. Yeah.
So obviously Carlisle Hartlepool's postponed. Immediately, as soon as that happened weeks ago, people started saying, well, we can play Barrow that day. I don't think Mansfield would be too happy in just losing a game.
It's a three-way game to see how it goes. but what some people also don't seem to realise is that the EFL insists that games are played at the earliest possible date, don't they? Now, you have to allow over Christmas the fact, the bad weather, you can sometimes drag it a little bit further. And early in January as well, there's issues with FA Cup replays and things like that. But in this case, it was just a case of this is the first one after having put the Hartlepool game on the 24th. So it's going to be a busy few weeks, though, isn't it? I'm just looking at
I'm just looking at the fixtures. The end of January, we've got Bradford away, Hartlepool at home, Rochdale away, and Barrow at home now.
Yeah.
A little run of four games in 2 weeks.
And actually, we've got 3 home fixtures on Tuesday night in the space of 4 weeks. Yeah. The only gap is the February the 7th, I think.
Yeah, which could end up being filled up if any other games fall foul.
Perhaps this weekend. We'll have to wait and see on that one, won't we? But there you go. Yeah. Right, well, let's get into it. It's going to be a slightly different episode today. So basically what's going to happen is we're going to do all the usual news bits. Me and Dan will cover that now. And when that's done, what we'll do is we'll play you the match review bit that me and Mike did for last week's episode. So you've got all that in there. Then we'll have the break-offs and then we'll preview the Northampton game. We have got a behind enemy lines as well for this week, which is a really good listen, actually. Really good guy, Danny from the It's All Cobblers To Me pod. So look forward to that. So we'll try and keep it as much of a normal pod as possible. It's going to come out, you'll know by now, it's coming out a bit earlier than usual. Because I'm supposed to be going away to Belfast this weekend, although it's not looking great for me at the moment with this cold. Whether the game's on or not, you're going to get a pod this week. So there you go. Right, first up, let's do the sponsors and the usual information about where you can find us on social media. We're very proud to say that once again this season the podcast has been sponsored by the Cal United Sports Club London branch. The London branch is open to all Cal United fans. They've got members from Cornwall to Dundee and Houston, Singapore, and of course every part of London and the South East. They regularly meet up on away trips as well as arranging many social events, sports games and fundraising for the club. They'll be providing us with information for the away games as part of the preview section this season too. You can find out more about the London branch at their website, carlisle.londonbranch.org. Just a reminder also, if you don't already, please do subscribe to the podcast. You can do that on any good podcast app, wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, any good podcast app. If you just search for the Brunton Bugle, click subscribe, and then every time a new episode comes out, you will get it straight into your inbox. And if you don't already, please do follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, at Brunton Bugle. Same address on Instagram, at Brunton Bugle. If you search for the Brunton Bugle on Facebook and click like, you can follow us there. And we're also on the Be Just On Fear Not Facebook group, which is a fantastic community. Over 3,000 people in there. Would recommend joining it, definitely. We're on the Cumbrians.net message board, and you can find us on email, bruntonbugle@gmail.com. Okay, then let's do the news section and the Lone Watch. I don't think any of the Lone lads played in any of the games this weekend, did they? I don't think. So we're going to cover what they did last time, I think. I might be wrong on that one. I do apologise if I am wrong.
I'd be surprised if I did, given the
cold snap,
the whitewash across the north. Wasn't many games on.
Indeed. So first up, it's a bit of news about the Cumberland Cup. So United, United are into the next round of the Cumberland Cup after the second string saw off Branstey Rangers 6-0 at Penrith Frenchfields. A decent run out for the lads this one, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, I was hoping to get to this, but work meant I couldn't. But I know a couple of folk who went, and obviously we played Gabe Breeze, Sonny Hilton, Jamie Devitt, Toby Shaw-Silver, the now departed Duncan Idahen.
Yes, cover him in a minute.
Joel Senior got another 80 minutes. So we had quite a strong team out. We were always going to be strong favourites. Toby got a hat-trick. Jamie Devitt got one, and young Mason Hardy got a brace. So, it was a good run out for our players who haven't had many minutes.
Yeah,
we were meant to be playing Accrington this week, but I'm guessing that's long postponed with the weather.
Yeah, it's common sense, that, isn't it? Really, there's no point in playing a game on pitches like this at the moment. So I think the big positive there's got to be Joel Senior, hasn't it, Dan? Getting through 80 minutes and a few crunching tackles on him as well, which you don't want players to go easy on him. You don't want them to put silly tackles in, but you want them to be physical and get him ready because he's going to have to put up with that when he gets into the first team, isn't he, you'd think? Yeah,
I think Paul Simpson mentioned this in an article on the official site, that there'd been a couple of tackles where he'd fired in and you're like, ooh, and he's just got up, shook himself down and carried on, which is, exactly what you want to hear. Yeah. So it looks like he's coming back to fitness just at the right time.
Absolutely. Well, let's touch on Duncan Idahen then, Dan. That news emerged actually, I think, while we were recording last week, funny enough. So, Duncan Idahen has left the club after his 6-month loan spell was brought to an end early. Not a massive surprise, this one, is it really?
No, not really. I think he'd sort of went and spoke to Paul Simpson and said, look, I'm not going to get a game. I may as well sort of go back to Bristol, at least play 21s, which is fair enough. And like Paul Simpson said, he doesn't want to keep an unhappy player here. He came in. Is he better than Jack Harmon or John Mellish at the moment? No. So, he was only ever going to play in Peter Trophy games and whatnot. So, sensible decision all round.
It's interesting because there was a comment in there from Simpson, wasn't there, basically about the fact that he brought him in thinking he may be able to fill in a wing back as well, but very quickly realised he's probably not the kind of player we wanted at wing back. So he was always ever only competing with John Mellish, and the problem is John Mellish has just been outstanding this season, and there's no way you.
I think if Jack Armour had a couple of games out with injury, you would maybe have seen Ida Hen come in on the left-hand side and Mellish actually play a wing back.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only way it would have probably worked.
Well, I think Mike said last week when we recorded, he said that the nail in the coffin for him was the Harrogate game when Mellish was out suspended, and Simo basically shoehorn's probably the wrong way of putting it, but he basically put Corey Whelan there instead of Ida, basically. Yeah. And you get to that point, you think that's probably where he probably thought himself, I'm not getting a chance here, am I?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any bitterness about it. I think Simo's like fair play to that. He wants to play games. There's no problem with that at all, really. And
yeah.
Sometimes you got to earn your place, don't you? It's the same with our lads who are out on loan as well. They all have to work hard to.
Also frees a place up for January too.
It does, yeah. I think we all expected that to come anyway, come January, didn't it? And there's still questions about Finn Back's loan and what's going to happen with that. I think Simo's commented on that again today. Still discussing with Forest. I mean, come on, guys, you're a Premier League club. You can afford to take him back, can't you? And give us a bit of a financial freedom.
I think the indication was from what I read into that was we would like to keep him, but they would pay him for January, February, March, basically.
Okay.
Because we're obviously paying something for him.
Yeah.
But we're getting zero return. So,
Yeah. It's a tough one to judge, isn't it, I suppose? And personally, for me, he's only going to get maybe 8 or 9 games at the end of the season, isn't he?
Well,
it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something else I think that also emerged actually after this week was the fine that the club got for the Walsall game, didn't they? So obviously the incident that happened after the Walsall game, a bit of a set to amongst the players, wasn't there? And both clubs have been, I think, charged and found guilty, I suppose that's the way of putting it, of failing to control their players. Now Walsall have been fined £1,500. We've been fined £3,000, and the people are a bit like, why is that the case? Why are we getting fined more? They part instigated and stuff. What it is, we still had something on our record from the Tranmere game last season, basically.
But basically, it's 1,500 each, and because we've got a previous, ours is doubled, hasn't it?
Yeah, basically. That's essentially what it is. So there you go. It's just one of those things, and you move on that one. I'm trying to see if
we look forward to beating them at Wembley in the playoffs.
Yeah. Only other bits of news I'm thinking of here, Dan. New physio is going to be in place for the Boxing Day game against Bradford City. So interesting to see who that is.
No names out there yet. We've not heard anything. So
no, we're still waiting to.
It's obviously someone working their notice at wherever they work. So
yeah, we'll have to wait and see who that's going to be. Actually, one bit of news that did emerge just before we recorded today. Actually, a little bit of sad news, isn't it? About Nick Anderton, the former Blues captain. Those who've been following it may know that he's been battling bone cancer, isn't he, over the last few months. He's put a statement out on Twitter today saying, following the recent announcement of my diagnosis with osteosarcoma, a rare form of bone cancer, I have some further news I wish to share. I underwent a successful operation on Wednesday, 5th of October, to remove the tumour's area. And then it continues on the next one saying, after the operation, the tumour was sent off for further analysis and the biopsy revealed that the cancerous cells were more aggressive than previously thought. Because of this, I now need to undergo chemotherapy treatment. This process has now begun and will last for several months. I'd like to thank my friends, family, friends, fans, teammates, and the whole football community for their support. It means the world to me. Really sort of a bit of a sucker punch, isn't it, really? Because it was looking really good and, it still hopefully will be good news. But yeah, a bit of a blow for everyone, really, that, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously all our thoughts and best wishes are with him as he fights that horrible bastard and disease. Yeah. I don't want to apologise for swearing with that one.
No, we're not going to be bleeping that one, I'll tell you that much anyway. So there you go, that's a bit of a down, I suppose, to end on, but we're all back in Nick and hopefully we'll get some good news on that in the future. Right, let's move on to the Loan Watch then, Dan. We're covering obviously last week's ones. So yeah, Max Kilsby, we always start with him because obviously we class Annan as the highest level team that a player's out on loan to, don't we? Which is kind of weird because Annan's more sort of a non-league football level in England, really, isn't it, I suppose? But there you go. So Max Kilsby, he was an unused sub in the previous fixture. He actually returned to the starting lineup Brannan last weekend, and he played the full 90 minutes as they picked up a 3-1 win at East Fife. They were supposed to be playing Body Rig Rose the weekend. I don't think that game went ahead, so there you go. Lewis Bell, mixed week for him. They got a 1-0 win over Cowden Beef, and then followed up with a 1-0 defeat to Caledonian Braves. Some great team names in the Lowland Leagues, isn't there, in Scotland? I think
there is full stop.
did they used to be Edgy Sport Academy or something like that? I think.
Yes, possibly.
Back,
yeah. Who used to be based at Adam once over.
Ah, right, okay, that was interesting. Yeah. So they lost 1-0 to the Caledonian Braves. They were supposed to play Spartans the weekend. Again, I don't know if that one went ahead. I haven't had a chance to check. Sam Fishburn, Morpeth's form's really dropped off of late, hasn't it? They were looking like a contender for promotion, and suddenly they find themselves sort of dropping down the table, don't they? Sam started this game, played near enough the full 90 minutes, and it was 0-0 when he came off, but then they conceded a penalty in injury time and lost 1-0 to Guiseley. Not looking great for them at the moment, is it?
No, they have dropped off. The funny, a lot of these North East teams, they have good runs and bad runs. Blythe used to do it as well. They'd have a storming run, or they'd have a bad run, then a storming run. It's a lot of it is often to do with players coming in and leaving, but no, Morpeth certainly need to up their game at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just double checking because John Coleman generally covers the players got are out on loan, and I'm just looking. He didn't do an article this week, so it looks like none of them featured this weekend. And then obviously Lewis Boyd, he made another appearance for Carlisle City. Didn't start very well for him. A back pass bobbled over his foot and went into the net to make it 1-0 to Pickering Town, but they stormed back and won 6-1 in that game. So that's a really good positive result for Lewis. He's got 11 games under his belt now. It's a really good experience, isn't it? At a decent level for him as well. So that's really good. And Dan Hill, a similar sort of level at Cleaton Celtic. He made his debut in. He got out there on work experience. Youth team midfielder. A 2-2 draw at home to St Helens at McGrath Park. So yeah, decent start for him. Right, well, what's going to come up now is you're going to get me and Mike talking about the Sutton game. Not the most entertaining football game in the world, I agree, but that just gives you a taste of what was there. And then once that's finished, we'll be into the break, and you'll be coming in to the second half of the show where me and Dan will be talking all about the Northampton game. Right, match review time, Mike. Obviously, you were at this one. I was. Carlisle United 1, Sutton United 1. Not a game for the ages, I think it's fair to say. Very low on quality.
Yeah, it's quite funny. I was listening before. Obviously, I was updating our prediction table, and I was just listening to your prediction, and you went, "Oh no, we're going to bounce back from the Walsall game, and I reckon we're going to win about 5-0." Yeah, which just didn't work out that way, did it?
Hopeless optimist, I think it's fair to say. No, we certainly didn't. I mean, it's a frustrating one because first half we dominated chances, and we actually played. We had a couple of little periods where we were well on top, and we played some nice stuff, and we put them under pressure. But that equaliser just before half time just totally took the stuffing out of us, and to use a Christmas term, and we just, the second half we just I thought they're going to get a rocket at half time for that, conceding so late in the half, but they just never really came out and had a go at it. They just, it was kind of one of those games where I think it almost got to a point where you're like, it's not really working for us today. Let's just make sure we don't get beat. And that's not that we sat back. It's just a case of we didn't take too many big risks. That's what happened, I think. And that can happen sometimes, can't it?
Yeah. I mean, at least we didn't lose. And I've said all along, I think ultimately to get promoted, you need to have more wins than draws and more draws than defeat. And, we still only lost 3 games. So it is worth sort of taking a step back sometimes and thinking, as long as we're not losing games, we'll be all right. But
yeah, well,
surely got to be winning games like that.
Yeah, well, that you've almost come to one of the talking points I'm going to come to later, which is about the number of draws we've had. Yeah, in terms of the let's talk about the game itself. Team selection. Taylor Charters maybe a little bit unlucky to miss out for the first time in just over a month. He was dropped.
Yeah, but I mean, he's played a lot of football, like just after coming back from injury, hasn't he? So he could have probably done with a little bit of a rest.
Think I almost wonder if that comes from. I think Simon mentioned that we had a chance late on against Walsall, didn't we? Which we didn't take, which we should have done, and that obviously then led to them going and getting the winner. And I think Taylor might have been the one who didn't play the pass that he probably should have done at that point. Maybe he missed the chance. So I'm not saying it's a punishment for that, but it might be in Simo's head, right? Maybe I need to freshen this up and take him out for a game or two. Callum Guy came back in after his tonsillitis. And yeah, in terms of chances and early on, like I said, we had a few. I think in terms of chances, we dominated them the first half. Edmondson almost scored a brilliant counter-attack. I don't know if you've seen this one,
No.
Mike, on the highlights. So we essentially break quite quickly. It was a long ball forward. Christian Dennis tries to sort of bring it down first time and control it with his back to goal. He sort of does, but it sort of sits up nicely. And John Mellish just charges onto it.
He headed it to him, yeah.
He plays a headed through ball. Incredible ball through, but the problem was it didn't quite sit up, and you could tell straight away from the angle we were in the pad. You could tell straight away he wants to take this on his right foot. He wants to almost hit it first time or bring it down with his right. Probably what he needed to do was try and chest it or knee it ahead of himself and hit it with his left, maybe across the goalkeeper. But he was really keen to try and hit it first time, and as it was, he couldn't get over the ball, and he sort of. It's kind of those weird sort of spinning ones, isn't it? That you're trying to, kind of like that pass that Devitt made against Rothschild, isn't it? Where you sort of get over the ball and sort of put a bit of spin on it. He ended up doing that, and it actually went fairly comfortably wide in the end, which is, frustrating, but it's just the way it is sometimes. So yeah, there was that chance. A couple of long range ones for Moxon and one for Guy. But then obviously the goal comes. And this was a really well worked short corner routine. And I should add, both me and Greg, actually maybe it was probably more me than Greg, but we're complaining about these bloody, it might have actually been Cameron actually I said this to, complaining about these bloody short corner routines. Just get it into the box, what are you doing there? But it was played to Moxon, and it was good play by Gibson actually to hold it up first, and then played to Moxon, edge of the box, and it's a lovely dink ball in. And Edmondson comfortably beats the offside trap and nods it past the keeper. I mean, the funny thing about this for me is the person who's most vociferously complaining about the offside in the Sutton ranks is the one who's played him on by about 4 or 5 yards.
It's always the way, isn't it? Yeah.
But I mean, this one, it wasn't even close though, was it? When you look back, I mean, you can't actually see it on the TV because the angle doesn't show where Edmondson's, but you can tell just by where the defender is and where he's coming back from that he was onside by a long way. So, lovely move there, wasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, brilliant. And sort of like Edmondson's goal at Harrogate, really. You put a ball like that onto his head, and it's easier to score than miss, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's in that rich vein of form at the moment, isn't he? Where when he gets those chances, he's actually taking them, and he's got a bit of belief in the way he's playing. So that's really good to see. That moves Moxham up to joint second in the assist ranks in the League Two, joint with Tom Nichols at Crawley and Jordan Gibson at Carl United. Top is Ben Whitfield at Barrow. I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about him later on as well, I suppose. But yeah, fantastic to see how well he's done as well this season. I mean, I'm actually looking here. Ben Whitfield's completed passes complete. It's on the BBC site here. It's 222. Owen Moxon's 468.
Jesus.
So I mean, Moxon's clearly quite. I mean, looking at it, actually, I think he's got the highest in the division. No, in fact, tell a lie. Elliot Watt is the highest. Have a guess how much Elliot Watt has got in terms of his passes complete and total passes.
I'll say 505.
1,130.
Oh Jesus! Okay.
I mean, that's astonishing.
But that's what's that's Salford when we played them in a nutshell, is that they passed the ball around loads and just didn't do anything with it.
That's incredible, isn't it? Maybe next week we'll have a look at some stats for League Two as well. Maybe that's one of the things we can have a little look at. But there you go. So yeah, that goal puts us in the lead, and all you have to do is get yourself through to half time. Say, okay, we've not been brilliant, but we're leading here. We're doing all right, and then get going again after the break. No, couldn't do that though, could we? What a frustrating time to concede. Literally just before the ref's assistant is about to put up the fourth official, I should say. Sorry, about to put up the board, say how long left. In the first half, and it just feels all a little bit sloppy and bitty. This goal, there's no major mistake, but it's just a few little things lacking, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah, and I mean, by all accounts, it sounded like Sutton played for the draw, but you're gonna get teams who do that, and you need to just work a way through.
Oh, they were time wasting on throw-ins after about 5 or 10 minutes. Basically, their right back was taking forever to take them, and the ref never booked it for it. And he took ages to actually finally give him a warning, and then he just carried on as if, oh, it's fine, I'll just keep doing it. And that was one of the most frustrating things actually about the game. thought the ref actually wasn't that bad, but he was just poor on dealing with time wasting, and the amount of time added on at the end was, I think, 4 minutes. Having seen what we've seen in the World Cup, it should have been 15. Yeah. And I'm not even taking the piss when I say that. It genuinely was that bad. But yeah, so it's sort of it's not like a hoof, but just sort of a ball into the channel down the right, and their lad, to be fair, does quite well, actually gets to it quickly, but Corey Whelan's just a little bit slow to get across, and then I don't think he does enough to stop the cross. I know to be fair, it's clever by the play because it's a quick cross. It's not like he's set himself to put it in. He's just sort of hit it, hasn't he, really? Cross goal, but can Whelan get a bit tighter on that, maybe?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think it was Shankly who said it, wasn't it? Show me a goal, I'll show you a mistake. And
yeah.
You can always blame someone, but at the end of the day, regardless of that, to only score the one goal, you could argue that we should have scored more goals, and that mistake maybe shouldn't have been so costly.
Yeah, well, we'll maybe touch on that in a second. Ball comes into the box, and Randall Hurren gets to the ball just before Jack Ellis, who's had to come across to cover, because the centre backs are a bit forward at this point. He wholly blocks the initial shot, but to be honest, it was at point blank range, and there wasn't really much he could have done to palm it away, and it falls very nicely for him to bury the second one into the back of the net, and you're 1-1 just before the break, and you think to yourself, bad timing, but okay, maybe Simo's going to go and then give him a rocket saying you should be holding on at that point, you've got to be better second half. We probably again had the best of it second half, but never really tested their keeper, and there wasn't a feeling of like they were really pumped up and going for it. It was just kind of like, one of them days, isn't it, really? And the result was there wasn't really, Edmonton had a header from a cross that went over the bar, but it was never really threatening the keeper. Arguably, they had the best chance of the second half. Sutton, corner from the left, comes into the box, headed down and poked into the back of the net. Should be said, the referee blew up for a foul very early, and when I saw it in real time, we were all looking around each other saying, it looks really soft. I couldn't really see anything wrong. But in my head, and also, I think I said this to Cameron as well, I said to him that the ref's blown very early for that. So he's clearly seen something he's not happy about. It's not a case of, as the ball's hitting the back of the net, he blows for the foul. He blew well before it hit the back of the net. And when you watch back on the video, actually, Kizzy, who wins the header, pretty much, I wouldn't say has Moxon by the neck, but he's got him by the scruff, isn't he? And he's pulling him back and down. So it's a good spot by the referee to give him some credit. Yeah.
Another talking point that I don't think that you have here is the Ardislav goal. Good
point.
One.
You know why I haven't put this in? Because it's not on the extended highlights. So I completely forgot about it. This is one of those weird ones. I've seen it back on the problem is you don't get a great view of it on the pitch side blues because you're down pitch side, you can't really see what's going on. I think it's probably the right decision. I don't think so. If people disagree, he's gained a fairly big advantage from being a mile offside, I think, straight in the build-up, hasn't he?
The thing is, though, for me, is that offside goal that we conceded against Leyton Orient, the officials said at the time that it was fair enough because they thought that Whelan touched the ball and brought it under control. Now, obviously, so Stratton's in an offside position and then their defender gets the ball. So what even is the offside rule anymore?
I think it's to do with deliberate touches and stuff like that as well. It's a confusing one. For me, I think Stratton is offside. I think he's gained quite an advantage for being offside there, and he's not got himself back on the side before he's touched the ball, I don't think so. So yeah, I think he's probably got that right. And to be fair, again, he blew quite early, and Edmondson might still have scored, but the goalkeeper wasn't making an effort to go for it, was I think he'd heard the whistle long before. So yeah, that's one of those ones again where it's frustrating, but I'll probably accept it. It's certainly not a horrid decision in the same way that the Orient goal was. I don't think it's on the same scale as that. So yeah. So moving on. I think we've covered most of the chances. Like I said, I mean, you look at the stat. If you looked at the stats, you'd think to yourself, we've had 8 shots and only one's been on target, which is the goal, obviously. They've had 11 shots and 5 were on target. What should be pointed out, technically they've had 2 shots in the build-up to the goal. So that's 2 shots gone. So it's 3 other shots other than the goal. Has Holy had a load of saves to make? Not really. He's been pretty quiet most of the game. So I think the stats reflection would suggest maybe Sutton were a bit unlucky. They weren't. A draw was the right result. Neither team was great. They came and got what they wanted. We didn't do anywhere near enough to deserve the win. I think both teams could say in the end, happy with that. Take a point, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I say, as long as we're not losing, but we need to turn these draws into wins. And we're still. I mean, the position where we are in the league now. If you'd offered us that at the start of the season, I think most of us would have taken it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can't be disappointed. You know.
No, you said 6 second. You said in terms of the draw bit, we'll top of that just now. But first up, no 6 second reviews this week. Again, just don't have time to sort them. If this weekend's game is on, we'll hopefully get someone lined up to do them as well. But yeah, let's talk about them, Mike. Draw specialists. Something that needs to be looked at, isn't it? I mean, we've now picked up 9 draws from the 20 league fixtures this season. Nearly half of our games have been draws. That's the highest in the division. Next highest, Gillingham, who are second bottom. They've drawn 8. The key is we've only lost 3 games. If you look across the division, only Orient with 2 have lost less. There's a couple of other teams who've got 3 defeats as well. Need to start turning some of those draws into wins, don't we, if you really want to be up near the top of the table at the end of the season?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said before, I think people will see how few games we've lost and they'll come to Carlisle and they'll think, right, best we can hope for is a draw. And we need to find a way of dealing with that and combating it because it's going to happen more. And we just, simply have to get used to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there needs to be we need to be a bit smarter in terms of breaking down these teams, that come in. And like I said, Sutton didn't sit and put like 10 men behind the ball, but they were very compact and they were very well organised and they knew what they were doing. They wound the clock down. We weren't cute enough in terms of beating that. Now, this sort of brings me on to the next point. Simo, we love Simo on this pod. We think he's a legend. We think has to go down as one of the Car United greats, one of our greatest ever managers. I think that's a fair assumption. In this game, I just felt he was a bit too slow to make changes. And I'm not just talking about in terms of subs. I mean, it took 68th minute to make the first sub. Well before that, we were saying, we're not really getting into this. We need a sub here to freshen things up a little bit. And then Stretton came on for... was it Dennis he came on for, I think? I can't remember now. If I've got it written down here, I should probably check that, shouldn't I? Yeah, it was for Dennis in the 68th minute. But even like pushing Mellish into midfield, which he's done really well in a lot of games this season, and he's timed it really well. I don't think that happened until roundabout when Stretton came on. It might have even been later. We took quite a while to do that, and I thought, we're not really winning the midfield battle in the same way we do in a lot of games, so it probably needed something like that to freshen it up a little bit. Callum Guy was slightly hampered by the fact he picked up a silly booking just before the break. So that meant he couldn't really go in quite as tough in tackles. So maybe putting Mellish in there could have relieved him a little bit to do a bit more of the, just tidying up and keeping the ball moving, recycling it well. I feel like... I think after the game, Simo did say he didn't feel like it was a game where subs were going to make any difference. And I think I disagree on that slightly. I think Sonny Hilton, throw him on, see if he can unlock a few passes through and that kind of thing. And could Devitt have come on soon? With Devitt, I imagine maybe it's a fitness thing, so it's probably fair enough that he doesn't come on until later on. But even, I mean, I'd agree with him. Maybe it's not a game where you throw Toby on late on and just cause a bit of chaos. I know it's his former club and that, but maybe it wasn't right for that. But I do feel like there could have been changes. To know what you think. Yeah,
well, I think maybe some of the subs were too similar to some of the players that were starting for Simo. I could maybe see that. I think one player that we need to come back from injury is Patrick, because I think when teams are sticking players behind the ball, he'll skin one or two, and then there's players who are sort of sitting deep and marking players who then sort of get dragged away from the man that they're marking to try and close him down, and he causes chaos in sort of a different way than Toby does a little bit. But we don't have anyone else who's anything like Patrick.
I mean, Stratton can do that a little bit. He's not quite the same sort of player in that way. He's not like a pick it up on the halfway line and beat every single man kind of player, But he's quite handy at doing that. He's not quite hit the height he had before his injury yet, which kind of sort of brings me on as well to Jordan Gibson's really struggling to find his form again, isn't he? And again, we are big fans of him on this pod. We've said all season when it ticks for him, it ticks for us, really, doesn't it? He's the creative force in this team quite often, and he was involved in the goal, in the set piece routine. But I don't feel like he's not quite got his mojo at the moment. He's not beating his man, is he? He's not looking at his man thinking, I can beat you, I can get around you, and get a ball into the box. He's kind of, every time he gets the ball, he's sort of reluctant. He's sort of looking back and going, okay, I'll play back to him. We'll build up again. I want to see the Jordan that we saw, in the first, stretch of the season where he was causing problems for teams, and I'm not quite seeing that at the moment.
Yeah, definitely, and it's quite a sought after position on the pitch. So if he's not playing well, there's other players I'm sure Simo won't hesitate to bring in. But on his day, he's first choice in that position, but he just isn't having his day enough, is he?
It should be said he was playing more as a sort of it was more of a 3-4-3 for this game. So you had Edmondson sort of drifting towards the left and Gibson on the right. And as much as that's probably his preferred role in the past, and he's done quite well there, I think he's better in that number 10 role. I think I'd rather see him in the middle with both with Moxon and Gibson. Not Moxon, Gibson, Moxon and Guy. I wonder if it's almost to give a little bit of support to Jack Ellis as well at the moment. Maybe, he's coming in and he's starting a lot. I think I'd rather see, let's get the best out of Jordan. Let's play him in that number 10 role. Let's get him back in the middle, drifting out wide when he has to, when he needs to support Jack. But I think I'd rather see a little bit of that at the moment. And I'm sure he'll get himself back to form. But at the moment, he's just not quite hitting those heights, is he?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And we haven't played a great deal of the sort of 3-5-2 that we saw earlier. We seem to have done the 3-4-3 a little bit more, haven't we? And I think I wouldn't
switched to a 4-3-3 in the game when Melic pushed forward a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind sort of seeing Edmondson and Dennis as your sort of two centre forwards. Old school big man, little man strike partnership. I wouldn't mind seeing that, to be honest, but. Who are we to question the great man? No,
it's a fair point. I don't think there's any other talking points from the game. Like I said, it just felt a little bit flat, really. Everything. It was kind of reminiscent of. There's been a few games like that this season at home, a couple of games. So I'm trying to think. The Crew game was a little bit like that. I think. Yeah, it just needs something to get people going sometimes. I think, but there you go. Okay, should we do it? I can't think of any other talking points, really, Mike. This is the problem. It's one of those games we probably talk for quite a bit here, but there's no real major points really to talk about. It's just felt, again, not great, but there you go. Right, should we do a League 2 roundup?
Yeah, go on.
Let's go through some of the games happening this week. So, games were split over Saturday and Friday. I think there was a sort of a fear among some League 2 clubs that they might clash with the England game if they had played on the Saturday. If they'd finished second in the group, as it was, it didn't make any difference. The free games on Friday, I think, produced some of the most interesting results. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, certainly Stevenage Barrow 5-0.
Well, I think we'll maybe talk about that one a little bit later on because that's the last game that Barrow played, so that'll be picked up then. But I mean, looking at the other two, Walsall, they're really picking up form. Doncaster have been so disappointing this season, haven't they? They really haven't lived up to that. I think we all sort of thought they maybe weren't going to be as good as they have done in the past when they've come down to this level because the squad wasn't quite there. But I don't think any of us anticipated that there would be 13th place. I mean, they're only 5 points behind us, I suppose, but they've not really hit the heights that a club that size really should have they? No,
well, they were doing better under McSheffrey, and they sacked him. So I think it happens quite a lot. I mean, it happened with us to a degree. Is that you get relegated and you think, oh, we'll bounce straight back, and it doesn't always work out that way. And sometimes you need to just sort of take stock and think, okay, well, maybe we're not going to bounce back. Maybe we just need to consolidate and then build next year. But I think they're just it's not their year, is it?
No, not at the moment. Obviously, Walsall, the team that beat them, their form's fantastic, isn't it? They're really
they've turned it around.
Starting to motor up the table. A little bit worrying. I can see them in our head, basically in our mirrors, can't you? We can. They're obviously 3 points behind us now, and obviously if their game's on at the weekend and ours isn't, there's every chance they could overtake us, because I think they're only 2 worse in goal difference. Although looking at it, we've scored 6 more goals, so. They would probably need to win 3-0 at least in their game to go ahead of us, so we might be okay in that terms of that. But yeah, I mean, looking at the others, the interesting one is Crewe against Newport County, a late winner for Newport County there. We'll tell you here later on because he features in the X-Files section, doesn't he? So there's a little treat for you coming up. Saturday results. Wimbledon, they've hit a bit of form actually. They've got a bit of sneaky this, isn't it? Because it's almost come out of nowhere, because they didn't look like they had much going forward at all when we played them. And suddenly, I mean, they haven't lost in the last 6 at the very least, and they're up to 11th place, and they're only 4 points behind us now. They're only 4 points off a playoff place, and Johnny Jackson seems to be picking things up. I mean, Gillingham, God, sorry, not Grimsby, it's Grimsby, obviously they played so Grimsby were sort of getting themselves up there, but their form's really dropped off. And looking there, they haven't won in the last 6 either, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, that game that we played that was, called off with the state of the weather, they were like playoffs, weren't they? And they were getting the better of us that night. And yeah, I think we sort of replayed them at the best possible time.
Yeah, they dropped off really. Obviously, Gillingham lost 3-0 against Salford City. I mean, some barefaced stats. Anyone who complains about us this season, here's a barefaced stat for you. Gillingham have played 20 games this season. How many goals do you think they've scored?
Is it 6?
6 goals in 20 games. Defensively, you know what? They're not that bad. Defensively, they've only conceded 3 more than us. They've conceded 24 in 20 games. It's not a bad return, but they just cannot score to save their life. I mean, 24 goals they've conceded. Hartlepool, 39. The same number of games. That's astonishing. But yeah, they just desperately need goals, Gillingham, and where they're going to get them from, I don't know. They're playing against Dagenham in the FA Cup tonight, just before we record, or just after we record, and I wouldn't be surprised if Dagenham won that. Really wouldn't. They were lucky in the first leg, I think. Going through some of the others, obviously Crawley, a good 2-0 win for them over Swindon Town. Mansfield picking up a little bit of form, beating Colchester 2-1. Colchester really struggling there, right down near the bottom too. Northampton 0-0 with Tranmere. That was a handy result for us. Harrogate 4-1 win at Rochdale. Rochdale just about keeping their head above water at the moment, but it's going to be a long slog for them. And let's finally talk about the big one. Stockport County 5. Hartlepool United 0. Stockport County 5.
I know, just after Keith Curl penned a new contract, 2-year contract, I think.
Yeah, they're a little look ahead to the X-Files section there. Obviously, Keith Curl signing a deal until the end of next season as permanent manager at Hartlepool. That's not a great way to announce that on the morning and then get a result like that in the afternoon. He's got a tough job on there, hasn't he, to rebuild things there. Yeah,
but at the same time, Stockport seem to have really turned a corner, and they really seem to be flying up the table.
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, tough pickings for Keith this weekend, but I'm sure he'll get them back to some level of form. Whether it's going to be enough to get them away from trouble, I don't know. I think it's a much tougher job than he faced when he took over with us. I think that's fair to say. But there you go. Right, Mike. I think we've covered everything for the first half of the show, so we'll take a short break and then we'll be back with a preview of the Barrow game.
Hi, I'm John Halpin, and you're listening to the Brunton Bugle.
Deliberately picked that one with Halpy this week because we're going to put the Halpy interview out next week, aren't we? Because finally, I got the Christian Dennis one out, didn't I? It took me a while.
Also, literally just before we started recording, there was a good article on the official site from sort of like a goodbye sort of gathering they had for Halpy. His missus will be in the bad books for keeping it a secret. Basically, he's walked into Fox's and nearly everyone who's ever worked with him sat there. Yeah. And they had video messages and various people at the club spoke about him.
There's a little special breakfast for him, wasn't it? I think because he's leaving fairly soon.
I did see an article the other week, and I think it instigated that he'll still be working in a capacity. So I wonder if he's maybe going to do a little bit of scouting.
The article did mention he's going to be a club ambassador, basically. So he's going to be down the ground on match days, which is fantastic to hear, really, because he is, he is, well, he's Mr. Car United, isn't he, really? He's been here for
yeah.
38 odd years, bar a small break, so fantastic, really, to have him still involved in the club. Right, well, we're going to get into the second half of the show now. Before we do the Behind Enemy Lines section, Dan, Mike has done us a question for this week. So would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Here's Mike's question for this week.
So, a notable member of personnel that's been at both clubs this week is obviously Dan's favourite, Keith Curle. Now, of all of the clubs that he's managed during his career, where did he achieve his best win percentage?
Ooh, that's a good question, that. I have a feeling it might be us. Because he was with us for a while, and he didn't really... He had that... Obviously, the first season wasn't great, but then fairly consistent after that. That's a tough one. It's definitely not hard. We know that.
I have a feeling he did really well at Notts County and left under a bit of a disagreement.
I think you might be right on that, actually. Yeah,
because I'm sure he left mid-season and he was doing quite well at the time. So I'm going to say Notts County.
Okay. There's that. There's potentially Mansfield. He wasn't there that long, and I think he got him into the playoffs, didn't he? So
yeah.
Okay, so you're going to Notts County. I'm going to go. Yeah. I'm going to go with us. So let's see what the answer is.
And it was at Notts County where he got 45.1% and then got sacked.
There you go. Blunt to the point there from Mike. Thank you very much. So there you go. Yeah. So that's the question. You had another question for us, but we're going to save
we'll keep that for the next one.
That is going to be a tough one. If anyone can get that, because you told me what the question is, I'm not going to cheat and find out. But it's a belter. It really is. There you go. Right. Well, let's get into the preview section then, Dan. And we have the Behind Enemy Lines section back this week. We didn't have it last week for the Barrow game. We weren't going to have one because I just didn't have time to sort one out. Well, hopefully we'll do one for the rearranged game. So yeah, we spoke to Danny from the It's All Cobblers To Me podcast. Some of the points we discussed include bouncing back from promotion heartache, their solid start to the season, and the ongoing issues with the club's incomplete East stand. That sounds very familiar, that, doesn't it, really? Yeah, this is the chat I had with Danny earlier this week. So today on the Behind the Enemy Line section, we've got Danny from the It's All Cobblers To Me podcast about all things Northampton Town. Danny, thanks for joining us.
No worries.
Right. I'm going to start off with a call back to last season, and I do apologise for this.
Oh, yeah.
Considering how close you got to automatic promotion and what happened on the final day with Bristol Rovers winning 7-0 to leapfrog you into third place, how annoyed are you still with Fraser Horsfall for that ridiculous handball that gifted us all 3 points in Brunton Park and effectively lost you
that 1 point
promotion? Yeah. The 1 point that would have cost you promotion. Because at the time, genuinely, we were all like, what's he doing? Because we could see he was a very good player that day.
Yeah.
And the ball was going out for a goal kick, and we're like, why have you stuck it? Well, thank you very much. This is really useful for us, but that must have been a bit of a what's going on here moment for you guys.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember watching it on iFollow, I think, that day. Obviously didn't know what implications it was going to have to the end of the season, but we've looked about that 7-0 and all that sort of stuff millions of times over, and you can look back on the whole season and think you could have got a point here, you could have got a point there, you could have got goal difference here, there, everywhere, all that kind of stuff. But that was a bit ridiculous. And I don't think John Brady said anything after the game about it, and just said it wasn't a free kick or something else happened. And it was a silly moment, a silly thing to do. But I don't really link it to the end of the season, if I'm honest.
I mean, in all seriousness, how difficult was it to understand what happened on that final day with the result of Bristol? I mean, do you think it had? It must have had some sort of psychological effect on the team going into the playoffs, though.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think as soon as that happened, I thought we're not winning these playoffs at all. I just thought, you know how it works in football. There's people telling you, oh, you finished fourth, you're going to hit back and stuff. But no matter how many times you look at it and think the players are going to be pumped for it, you can't psychologically prepare for a playoff like that after thinking you've gone and done your job, you've won 3-1 at Barrow, job done. That's as much as we could have done there. We could have scored another goal, but we could have easily pushed for a fourth and let in another one. The players, the management, everyone did their job at Barrow. You don't expect things like that, and to bounce back and to win those players, it would have been way too much. And we've faced a decent Mansfield team in the playoffs as well. So, I was looking at it thinking it was it was going to take something else to come back and win. As optimistic as you want to be about playoffs, it was difficult to see us coming back from that, I think.
It was a kind of weird one, wasn't it? Because we played at Bradford that day. We lost, I think, 2-0 in the end on the last day of the season with a big crowd followers, but it didn't really matter, so we weren't that bothered. So we were driving back and listening to it, and we heard all these people talking on Radio 5 Live about it, saying it's a disgrace. He's put a 17-year-old keeper and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, when I listened to that, I was thinking, do these people actually know how bad Scunthorpe have been this season? Because they genuinely one of the worst sides I've seen at this level in a long, long time. So the fact that he'd basically bombed off all the players who'd been terrible for them this season and put a load of kids in, ethically maybe, yeah, there's some issues there, but at the same time, he's probably looking thinking, well, these lads might actually have a chance to play for us next season. As it is, they've been appalling in the National League.
Yeah, they've been
so,
dreadful as well, which is not something we feel sorry for them about at all.
No, I think that's been 3 or 4 years coming for Scunthorpe. I think it's fair to say they've been bad for a long, long time. Well, let's talk about this season then. So, on our pod, I think all three of us, the host, we had a preview episode before the season preview before the start of the season. I think all three of us had you either in the top 3 or going for the sort of playoff positions there and thereabouts. How happy are you with the season you've had so far, the start you've had, the first half of the season? Because if you take away the extraordinary, and I think it's fair to say, especially for Orient, the extraordinary season that Orient and Stevenage are having, you must be pretty pleased to be 5 points clear of 4th place at this stage.
Yeah, completely happy, especially again after what happened last season at the end. You could have easily had a hangover to the season, and it could have affected our starts to the season. But the manager's gone and recruited well in the summer again. The togetherness seems to still be there from last season. It almost feels like we're trying to right a wrong.
Yeah.
To get it done this season and to finish in the top 3. That's to the height of my ambitions. I don't see us sort of challenging for the title. I think Orient are way too far ahead. But if we can get in that top 3 and put that to bed last season, I mean, ideally it would be good if Bristol Rovers came back down, but I don't think that's happening. Considering I live in Bristol, it'd be nice to turn that back around again. But yeah, it's been solid. It's been great. You know, we very rarely start seasons well. We've started this season with 3 wins out of 4 in the league. A lot of fine margins, a lot of single goal victories, but at the same time, our 3 defeats have been 1-0. The only kind of niggles are the cups, really, but it's in the league. It's generally been a positive. It's been the manager's just passed 100 games for the club. The players seem to be buying into what he's done. The loan players that have come in this season have been decent as well, and it's been generally a really, really positive thing. I think the only other thing missing is home form at the minute, but I think we'll get there. It doesn't seem like a league that's gonna be massively have someone running away with it. So I've got every positivity about the season so far. It's been really, really good.
Sounds quite familiar to us, basically, in terms of the not just a handful of defeats and, not being too disheartened by it. So that's good to hear. You obviously touched on the manager just briefly there, but John Brady, happy with the job he's doing at the moment? I mean, form-wise, you've been in the top 7 near enough all season and actually been in the top 3 since mid-September.
Yeah, and we just had a podcast about him this week, so we didn't have a game. We did a look back on his first 100 games, where we were back then to where we are now. You'll know very well that we had Keith Curl just before him.
Yes.
The difference is ridiculous in terms of the outlook from the manager, the way that he approaches the club, the way that John Brady's just embraced the club. He was there as a youth team manager. He's been there all the way through. He's managed in the local area for a lot of years before that, and he's got his big chance and he's taken it. He's grabbed it. It would have been really, really easy for us to start again, having gone down with him. Took over from Keith Curran in League One. We weren't massively adrift in League One, but ended up the players just weren't up to it, and we went down. But we saw in those 20 games in League One that he had something, and he had that commitment and that desire and that connection to the fans that we would have been a bit silly to let go, I think, especially starting again in League Two. And I just think he's got a passion about him. He gets him a few bookings, but he's got a passion about him that you just love. And you'll know the same with Paul Simpson, that you see that on the sidelines. Everyone gets up for it, and every win just feels so much more special when he's fist pumping the away ends, and when we're playing away, obviously not when we're playing home, but and is giving it the big un after every big win and stuff. And you can tell the passion in his voice when he talks about the club, that he just puts so much into it, that we're desperate for him to get that promotion, to kind of justify everything that he's doing. He's taken over basically had to start all over again when we got relegated. He had a massive clear out. He had to build a whole new team, and to finish 4th in his first full season as a league manager, to then come again and be 3rd now, 5 points clear, like you say, it's so good. And I think it almost goes under the radar sometimes with neutrals in League Two, that what a job he's done, because of the sort of perceived nature of us in this league as always seeming to be among the top 7, top 10, and it almost gets lost that he's come in and done such a massive job to turn it around, to turn around the feeling of the club after relegation and all that kind of stuff. And after watching lockdown Keith Curl, it's just been such a positive for the entire football club, I think.
That's actually a really fair point, that, because I think I look back to last season when we did our season preview. We felt Brady could have been one of those people who potentially could have lost his job early on if it didn't go well. We thought, it's a risk going with someone who's not really got too much experience. But like you said, he's not one of these ones who gets linked with big clubs or anything like that, is he really? So he's just slowly doing a decent job there. And I think he's the kind of guy, if he does get you up and keeps you up, that's when maybe bigger clubs will start sniffing around him, I guess. And as you say, he is a combative character. I think I've seen that from some of the games we play against you guys in the last few years. But yeah, he seems to be the right fit for you guys, doesn't he?
Oh, 100%, yeah. I mean, we had a similar thing with Dean Austin when he came down. We went down with Dean Austin from League One. He was a similar type of character. He just leaves everything out there. He spoke with such passion, and we really wanted him to do well. Went down to League Two. He just felt like he was out of his depth, and it felt like it just didn't work for him at all, for whatever reason. But with John, he just seems to completely get the club, and we haven't had that since Chris Wilder was here. We haven't had someone who completely gets it and gets the fan base and talks to us on our level, kind of thing, and just really, really connects me. I mean, obviously Keith Curl did a lot of good stuff during lockdown, and don't get me wrong, and he's a decent bloke and all that kind of thing. But he just always felt like he spoke very robotically and in cliches and. Just you'll know.
Really?
You know this. But he just comes out and says it how it is most of the time. He speaks with such passion and such pride in being the manager, and that makes a massive difference at this level. And when you're trying to get new fans in as well, and new fans seeing these interviews and seeing how he talks about the club in interviews in the newspaper and on the website and stuff, you just feel such a connection to him. So yeah, long may it continue. Hopefully we can get that promotion under him, and he can kick on. He was recently linked to the Luton job, I think, by some the type of Twitter rumour thing that never really turns out. But so he's starting to get mentioned at least, which shows what sort of job he's doing. But fingers crossed we can keep this one under wraps, because as soon as we go up, usually it's a case of hang on to the manager, hang on to the players, and try and stay up.
I know the feeling. Interesting. Before I move to the next question, you mentioned Dean Austin there. I was thinking, why do I recognise that name? I remember now, he was in charge of Farnborough when we were in the conference for one season, and we beat them 7-0. I think he was giving the Billy Big Bollocks before the game about we're coming here to do an upset or something, and we just tore them apart. Annoying that though, because our record win is 8-0, so we could have equalled it that day, but we didn't, which is. Nothing more annoying than that, is there, I guess so. Right, let's talk about I think one of the last clubs we're going to be able to do this with, talk about summer transfer business wise stuff. You seem to have a fairly solid window. I mean, obviously, you lost Horsford to Stockport and Roberts went to Middlesbrough, but you made some really good additions. I think the one that stood out for us in pre-season, I think for most fans at this level, was Danny Hilton. Because he's one, he'll get goals, but two, he's just an absolute nuisance up front, a proper just battering ram at times, and he wins free kicks. He can be a nasty piece of work, but he's so effective. Probably not had quite the goal scoring impact so far, but otherwise he seems to be in a really good signing for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, when he signed, I thought this is a fantastic sign. It's such a great sign. I think the Luton manager at the time was Nathan Jones. Said it was the best signing in League Two. We haven't seen that so far, honestly. I expected a lot more in front of goal. He's been in and out of the team because of injuries or just that age catching up with him, or just not being the type of, we're not going to get 90 minutes out of him every week. We know that, but when he comes on, he is that Danny Rose type character who left us last summer. He's kind of replaced him in the shithouse where he stakes. He comes on and he's just whatever to defenders, to the referee. He's in the ref's ear all the time, which is entertaining to watch a lot of the time. But you do think we've got to we almost need to give him a run as a starter and just give him that belief that we want him to be that main man up front. At the moment, we've got Louis Appere, who's in front of him, usually plays every week. He's got just so much more energy, so much more. Maybe it's just the way that Appere plays, that he's just trains harder and wants that position more. I don't know, but Hilton he's not worked quite how I thought it might do so far for him, but still a little bit of time, hopefully.
Yeah. Sorry, looking at your other signings, Ben Fox is one that stood out for me because I watched Grimsby's playoff games against Wrexham and a few of the others, and he looked a fantastic player. And I thought when you sign him as well, that's a good player to get in. And goalkeeper Lee Burge, interestingly, is someone we were linked with in the summer as well, actually. After someone told me we had talks with him at the very least, but nothing came to it. So they two are the ones that have been good additions.
I mean, we'll start with Burge because he's been ridiculous. Like the quality of goalkeeper that he is, I thought we were lucky to get him in the start, but he is superb. He's so good. If you see his save against in the last game, who was it against? I don't even remember now.
The Tranmere.
We played Tranmere, that's it, yeah. 0-0 against Tranmere. He does a double save that's just complete out of this world, and he's done that all season. Shot stopping he is incredible. So lucky to have him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him again in the summer because he is just that good. He got the cue a clanger at the weekend now. But Fox was an interesting one. He's been in and out with injury again. Grimsby fans were saying that those playoff games were for the cameras, that he had a good season, but he had a decent season for him, they were saying, but those 2 playoff games or 3 playoff games, whatever it was, were him just like really stepping up. And it's been really, really good, strong addition. I think he's the type of player that we haven't really signed before, that is still relatively young. He gets about the pitch a lot. He really complements the other players in midfield, the Sean McWilliams, the Mark Leonards, the Jack Sowerby when he plays. And he gets up and down the pitch, and it's been solid, really solid signing for us.
Yeah. Any other danger men we need to watch out for? I mean, obviously the two that stand out for me, Sam Hoskins and Mitch Pinnock. Mean, Hoskins' goal record this season has been fantastic. Him and Andy Cook are keeping Christian Dennis off the top of the scoring chart at the moment. Pinnock really impressed me when I saw him play against us last season. They're two that really, I thought, they're the danger men to watch out for.
Yeah. I mean, Pinnock's got that touch of class about him. He just drifts around the pitch and just picks players out. He comes up with moments, set pieces, just complete quality from him. Hoskins is a really, really funny one. He's been here for since about 2015, 2016, and he's never really hit these heights goal wise. Never really.
Strange, isn't it?
He's never really had this much in his bag. But I think the way we're playing, the way Brady's got it out of him is fantastic. He's just suddenly got a new lease of life. This season, especially, that he's just in front of goal. He's just been clinical, which we've just not seen from him before. We've always said if he can add that to his game, then you've got a player on your hands, and he's shown it this season. The other one I will mention, Kieran Bowie, who's on loan from Fulham. He started off relatively slowly, but I think he's just getting up to pace with the game. He plays in a number 10 role, and he's got, again, just a touch of class about him in front of goal. He's really, really coming to the fore now. Mark Leonard as well, on loan from Brighton, has got class in the middle of the park as well. You can just tell they're both that step above. And we've just brought in Josh Harrop this week from Preston. Or not from Preston, I think he left Preston in the summer, but that's concerning us a little bit, that either Bowie or Leonard might be off. And might be cutting their loan short, potentially. Hopefully not, but that's just a fear at the moment, but hopefully it's just a competition for places thing.
Before we get on to predictions, I'm going to ask you about what's the latest of the ongoing issues with the ownership of your ground. I know you could probably talk all night about this, but if you're able to briefly summarise for our fans, because I think some of them will be aware that there's been ongoing issues about ownership of land around the ground and things like, and obviously the still yet to be completed East Stand as well, I think it is. So the East Stand's still not completed. It can't be completed until it's all been sorted out with the council. The council's changed hands relatively recently. There's a piece of land behind the East Stand that's been fought over. The Supporters Trust have got involved in terms of putting their own bid in. The Supporters Trust, just in case you didn't know, are not fans of the current ownership. There's a massive divide there between the trust and the owners, which is holding everything up again. The
they've been putting bids into to kind of halt the process. It's just ongoing, and it just seems never ending. It's been going on for so long now. You just think, will it ever get resolved? Will it ever get sorted? And it's just down to the talks between the council and the club now. But it is being kind of held up a lot at the minute. Still, it's just there's no end to it at all.
Never-ending story, isn't it, with things like that? Always.
Yeah.
Well, you've been very generous with your time, Danny. Thank you very much. Let's have your predictions for this weekend's game.
I said 1-1 in our podcast, I think, just now. So I'm going to stick with 1-1. I think both teams enjoy a draw this season. We haven't been at our best at home recently, and I think you're a very, very decent team. And it's going to be a big challenge for us. So I'm going to go 1-0.
And that would make it 10 draws out of 21 games for us this season, which would just be pretty much sum it up, I suppose. But there you go. Danny, thanks for your time, and all the best for the rest of the season after this weekend.
Cheers, mate, and you.
Yeah, big thanks once again to Danny for giving up his time to speak to us. We also did a little bit for his podcast. I had a chat with him for about half an hour, 40 minutes. I think it was a really good chat, actually, really interesting. So you'll keep an eye out for that as well. And yeah, you can go listen to their podcast previewing our game. I think it's All Cobblers To Me on social media. I think it is just something like that. So just search for it on your usual podcast apps and you'll find it, I'm sure. Okay, so this weekend we face the Cobblers at Sixfields. Referee for this game, Mark Edwards. It's his fourth season in the AFL. He's taken charge of 13 games so far this season, handing out 41 yellows and no red cards. That's technically not correct. He actually did hand out a red card in the first game of the season. But I think he was the one that was famously overturned. Remember Accrington against Shrewsbury when he got it wrong and a mistaken identity, handing out a second booking to someone. It was like somewhere right by the first game, something like that, but there you go.
Gee, some of Durham to Northampton's a fair trek, isn't it?
Yeah, especially this time of year as well, with all the weather and that. It's a bit of a strange one, that. Strange choice. Last season he handed out 87 yellow cards and 3 red cards in 29 games. The last United game he took charge of was the 1-0 win over Gillingham back in August. Only Jordan Gibson was booked for the Blues that day. In terms of head-to-head, it's the 46th meeting between the two sides. United have won 13, 14 have been a draw, and the Cobblers have won 18. Just had a quick look at the head-to-head site the other day that I use. And our record against them is not great of late. Like, pretty poor, actually. The win we got against them in March was our first win in 7 meetings of the two teams. So, you know, it's hard one to tell, isn't it? You sometimes get a bit excited about these historical runs of results, don't you? But in this case, yeah, we don't have particularly great form against Northampton. Well, let's have a look through the squad then. I mean, just talk about them generally. It would have been very easy for them to probably go back into their shells and collapse and have a terrible season this season after what happened with them on the last day of the last season, wouldn't it? Yeah. I mean, they were shit on, to be honest, weren't they? It's a weird one because we chatted about it, me and Danny, obviously, in the bit which people have just heard, and he was kind of like angry about it. But he was like, "Oh, I'm glad, you know, Scunthorpe are down well." Well, he didn't exactly say that, but he basically said, you know, Scunthorpe's still struggling at the bottom nationally. He's like, "Well, yeah, good enough for them." Yeah. But anyone who saw Scunthorpe last season would know how bad they were, wouldn't they? Yeah. They were not a good side. I mean, I didn't really blame Keith Hill that much for not picking any of the players who got them into the mess and giving a load of young lads a chance, but 7-0 on the last day of the season, and the way it unfolded, we were driving back from Bradford, me and Mike, and I remember following it on the radio, and we were thinking that as people were saying, "Oh, it's a disgrace what Scunthorpe have done," and then I don't know if anyone did ring. I'm sure someone rang in and said, "Have you not seen Scunthorpe this season? They are that bad. They're like probably one of the worst sides I've seen at this level for a long time." And yet they managed to get a point at Brunton Park, didn't they? So very nearly all three, actually. But yeah, it would have been quite easy for them to sort of
peaks in UFC there.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been easy for them to sort of collapse, like I said, and just have a terrible. I mean, you look at what happened with us, where our season under Beach, where we looked like we were going for promotion, fell apart, and then the following season we just could not pick it up again, could we? It was awful. A little bit different for them in that they got into the playoffs and then lost against Mansfield in the playoffs. But yeah, especially when they lost Fraser Horsfall to Stockport and Liam Roberts to Borough, but they've been quite smart with the signings over the summer, haven't they?
They made some very good signings. I mean, I'm just looking at the list. Ben Fox and Grimsby really, really impressed me when I watched Grimsby's playoff games when they were coming up.
Although Danny did say that apparently the Grimsby fan said that he was doing that for the TV cameras because apparently his performances weren't quite that good over the whole season.
Right, okay. Yeah.
But I was impressed as well, to be fair.
Signing Danny Hilton was a sign of intent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
Not quite the impact you'd hope so far, but I mean...
No, possibly not.
But even having that voice around the dressing room will make a difference, won't it? We've seen that.
Yeah.
With good
I
experience
mean,
players.
A couple of the loans have brought in Mark Leonard at Brighton. He's well thought of. They've just signed Josh Harrop this week, haven't they? Who was unattached.
Did he make his debut around about the same time as Joe Riley did for Man United? Or was he a little bit later?
It
was around about that time, yeah. I seem to remember that, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting... I mean, it's going to take him a while to get up to speed, you'd think, wouldn't you? Josh Harrop. He's not going to be raring to go straight away. But yeah, they've signed really well. I think there's a few names in there you kind of like, they don't really stand out, but they're probably good, solid performers. Your Ryan Haynes from Newport, your Akin Odimeo from Swindon. I don't really remember him last season too much, but there's boundary players in there that you can just do a job. But generally, they've kept a lot of the players together, and attack is where they're really strong, isn't it? When you look at the two wingers they can play, especially Pinnock and Hoskins, are the stars of the team, aren't they?
Yeah. And you've got Hilton, you've got Eppier, there's some good players. There is, and it's no surprise the backup at the top end for me. I mean, I think we all predicted to do well in the preview.
I'm fairly sure we did, didn't we? I think we all had them up in the playoffs at the very least this season.
Yeah.
I think there was a feeling that, but
I think I had them as champions.
You might well have done, actually, to be fair.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone thought or it would run away in the way they have those.
No.
That's just the luck, isn't it? Northampton would probably be looking and thinking, what a great season we're having. And they probably still do. But because Orient and even Stevenage have been so extraordinarily good, it doesn't quite reflect on how good Northampton probably been. So yeah, they're solid enough. I mean, Pinnock's someone who was at Kilmarnock, was he, I think?
Yeah.
The other day when they signed a lot of Scottish players, didn't they, I think?
A couple of years back.
And he's one who really impressed me, actually, when we played against him last season in both games. And Hoskins has always been a very good player at this level, but he's never scored goals like he has done this season, has he?
No.
It's a strange one, because he plays wide as well. He doesn't play as a central striker, really. He generally plays out wide. So he's having the season of his career. Tight squad, though. Only 22 players in it.
Yeah.
Which is, that when you think that... I mean, ours is about 26, 27 now, isn't it? I think maybe even more than that. So... In fact, I'm going to double check all that now while we're talking. I'm fairly sure ours is 29 players. So there you go. We've got 7 more players, albeit we've got about 10 out injured, so we've probably got less than them technically.
Yeah.
John Brady's an interesting one as manager, isn't he? Because I recall going back to when we did our season preview last season, rather than this season. We all thought it was a risky appointment sticking with him, wasn't it? After they'd gone down, he was sort of temporarily in charge when Curl left. And he got the job permanently, and we thought, someone with not really much experience. But from what Danny's saying there, it sounds like obviously he's Australian born, so he's not a local lad, but he's been living in the area for so long, and he's been a part of the setup for so long. He gets the club, and that sometimes helps, doesn't it? Especially after you've had someone like Curl, who's a bit of a, someone who's, have coat will travel, you know what I mean? He's someone who, will happily jump ship if he needs to. He's not really someone who stays on too long or worries about the long-term future of the club, does he? The impression is that Brady does do that.
Yeah, no, he's done very well. Like you say, they just missed out last year. They didn't click in the playoffs, but this season they've been excellent. No, he's done really well.
Yeah, he really has. I mean, you've got some mates, haven't you, in Northampton ones? What were their thoughts on this season? Have you had a chance to speak to them? Or
yeah, they're happy enough. They're doing well. They had a little wobble sort of in October, but they've won a couple on the road. Gillingham and Bradford. I think they drew with Tranmere last time, didn't they?
Yeah, well, that's the last time out. It was a 0-0 draw against Tranmere Rovers. Obviously, us, their game last weekend was called off because of the frozen weather. So the last time they played was against Tranmere Rovers. It was a 0-0 draw, and Tranmere, not quite the force they were this season, are they? They're struggling a little bit, and actually, home form wise isn't great of late. The last 4 games they've drawn 3 and lost 1, so they haven't won in the last 4. Which what does Carl United do best, eh? Ends runs like that, don't they? But there you go. And away form wise, we're the second best in the division at the moment. We haven't lost in our last 6 away games, I think, or something. Maybe last 5.
Enough of these records. Yep,
there you go. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get on over the season overall. I'm just trying to pick out the talking points here again. Yeah, in terms of their squad, former Blues in there, Jack Sowerby, someone who was a one of those sort of loan signings that came in, wasn't he, when he came in first? And we were like, what are we doing signing a midfielder from, Fleetwood Town's B team, whoever it was, or the under 23s on loan? And actually turns out he's a very good footballer, isn't he?
Yeah.
Really good player. He's kind of one of those players we had on loan, and he's one of the ones you could realistically sign that you would have wanted to sign, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The impact he made was really strong over that.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I'm
20
having a... Cut this out. I'm having a sneezing episode.
Right. You done?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that again.
Jesus.
Yeah, over those 25 games that he played, he was, or so that he played, he was a good player, wasn't he? He was a good technical footballer. He slotted in quite nice. He scored a couple of... that goal he scored at Oldham, I remember that one where he did that little drag back and took it away from the defender, was an absolute beauty. But Fleetwood just wanted to stick with him, didn't they? And in the end, he left to go and get first team football after Fleetwood didn't really pick him that much and went to Northampton, and he's done fairly well. I think he's a bit of a deeper sitting midfielder now.
Yeah.
In our squad, Brendan Dickinson used to play for them on loan, obviously not playing for us at the moment, sadly. And Ryan Edmondson had a short loan spell there. I think they were sort of in agreement that he clearly had something, but he was quite young and a bit raw, and it wasn't quite right for him. And that seems to have been the story for most of his loan spells, I think, when you look back. I mean, I think Aberdeen was a prime example where he went there with big expectations and just didn't really hit the ground running at all. Port Vale's the newest he got, where their fans were quite keen to keep him, weren't they, in the summer? And he obviously came to us, so he'll probably have a point to prove, I hope, this weekend if the game goes ahead. Should we talk about the Blues then, Dan?
Yeah.
What do you do for this game then in terms of the change? It's weird because obviously not having the Barrow game, there's no sort of... It's 2 weeks since the last game we played it. There's no real point to work from, is there, in terms of what do we do with ex-player here and there? So would you make any changes from the game for the team that faced Sutton?
I think on paper you don't really, do you? Because Gibson came back in, didn't he?
Gibson came in for... Gibson
Charters.
Kept his place. It was Guy that came in for Charters.
Yes, sorry, Guy had been off, hadn't he?
Yeah, so Gibson's maybe the only one I'd have a question over, because he was hit and miss in that game against Sutton. He didn't really make the impact you would hope. You'd hope he starts to find his form again, and he's just a little bit off the ball at the moment. So when you go...
I think it'll be the same as Sutton, barring any... although Feeney could be back, couldn't he? For
the talk is that the Feeney should be fit again. He certainly looked fit in the Horseshoe Bar in Glasgow, didn't he?
Yeah,
at the weekend.
when he was singing his Jamie Webster song.
Anyone who hasn't seen it, if you go on social media on the Be Just Unfair Not Facebook group, there's a brilliant video of the players having their Christmas night out with the Adam players actually at the Horseshoe Bar in Glasgow, and Morgan Feeney's on the stage.
Well known karaoke.
Yeah. It's literally like 2 minutes walk from Central Station, and Feeney's belting out a song by Jamie Webster, who's a fellow Scouser. So, and then, as I think it was you said, that it proves that all Scousers singing sound exactly the same.
Yeah. I think it was a combination of Feeney singing and the backing track playing as well. But the Scousers sound Scouts when they're singing for me.
They do, to be fair. But yeah, no, it looks like the lads had a good night out, and most importantly, there's no report of the police being involved in anything, which is what you want to hear, isn't it, at this time of year, hopefully, because we don't want players missing, but there you go. So in terms of... The only other question is maybe whether Joel Senior comes onto the bench in place of Duncan Idehen, possibly.
Possibly.
But then I suppose if Feeney comes in, I suppose you maybe don't need to, so... Yeah. Interesting to see how that goes. Only a bit in terms of fitness news. A bit of bad news about Amari Patrick, isn't he? He's had a little bit of a setback on his return, hasn't he?
Yeah, probably looking at New Year now, aren't we?
Yeah, it's a real shame, because I think the hope was he'd be back for maybe either this weekend or Boxing Day, but 2 or 3 more weeks maybe. But we want to get him back fully fit, don't we? We don't want to mess around and get him injured.
Well, it's again, he's going to be like a new signing in January again, isn't he?
Yeah, and as an option off the bench, that kind of pace will terrify teams, you'd hope.
Yeah.
But there you go. Right, well, let's do the match predictions then. Dan, you can go first.
I'm going to go for a solid 1-1 draw, Christian Dennis.
Okay. Well, when I did the preview for the Northampton Town podcast, I went with us nicking a 2-1 win, and I went both goals Ryan Edmondson, so I'm not going to change my mind. I'm going to stick with that. So Ryan Edmondson double and a 2-1 win. Right, let's have Mike's prediction.
So I'm going to go for a 1-0 win with Owen Moxon getting a goal.
Ooh, all three of us got different scores this week, so
Yeah.
interesting to see what happens with that. I mean, the only way we can all get points is if we win 3-0 and all three of them score. But in that case, yeah, none of us will get any points for the result, will we? So there you go. Right, let's go on to the X-Files section, Dan. We're going to cover last weekend, this weekend just gone, and some other bits as well, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm just getting my list up. Cole Stockton scored his first goal in 18 league appearances as Morecambe drew 1-1 at home to Exeter on a Friday night game.
His form properly dropped off, didn't it, after they basically turned down any.
Funny enough, it was in one of the papers at the weekend, and there's a couple of teams after him again.
Well, he's out of contract, isn't he, I think, in the summer, so I think Morecambe will probably want to cash in and get their 20-30 grand off him now and let him go, won't they?
He is one who's been out injured all season. Zanzala scored a late winner for Newport as they beat one of his former club's Crew 2-1. I think it was his first game back, so he'll be happy with that.
Definitely.
Regular Paddy Madden target. Stockport beat Hartlepool 5-0 the other week.
Yeah.
Kedwin Scott got his 9th league goal of the season for Notts County, 4-1 win at Scunthorpe. Tristan Abraham scored the only goal of the game from the penalty spot as Eastleigh beat Boreham Wood 1-0.
He hasn't scored many from open play, has he, Tristan Abraham this season? But there you go.
Jack Bridge is in again.
Yeah.
Scored at Southend and a 2-2 draw at home to Altrincham. Those were the weekend before last.
Yeah.
Weekend just gone, obviously not too many games. Max Amos scored for Gillingham in the dramatic 3-2 FA Cup replay win. That was actually the midweek.
Yeah.
Josh Todd scored for Queen and South in a 4-2 win at Alloa. Callum Higginbottom scored for Kelty in their 1-1 draw with Linfield in the Scottish Challenge Cup.
You're going to have to explain that to people.
That. Basically, the Scottish Challenge Cup has a couple of Northern Irish and Welsh teams in it for some obscure reason.
Yeah.
Olamola scored for Wealdstone, 3-3 drawn at Bromley. And Mark Beck scored in Darlington's 6-2 win at Gloucester. That's a good win on the road, isn't it?
Ridiculous that Gloucester City in the National League North. I keep saying this,
roundup of ex-players and managers over the last couple of weeks. Chris Beach finally has a new job. Director of football role at AFC Fylde, alongside ex-Blue Adam Murray, who became manager a few weeks back. Mm-hmm. Dave Rogers, there's a blast.
Yeah.
He's left his coaching role at Notts Forest. I think he was involved in the under-21, wasn't he? Yeah. He's a new manager of Finn Harps in the League of Ireland. Was it Rogers who went to play in Ireland? Yeah,
he played. I think we got him from Ireland, possibly, actually. As well. He had an interesting career, didn't he? That famous game at Tranmere in the FA Cup is the one everyone remembers him from, where he basically tried to get into the crowd to fight someone, didn't he? So, I mean, I'm just double checking. He started at Chester City. Well, he's at Everton, actually, originally as a youth player. Chester, Southport, Dundee, Ayr United. Did a few clubs in Scotland. Scunthorpe. He was at Portadown before he came to us.
Yeah, that's
not. And then he's a belter. He went to Camber Leeuwarden in Holland.
Oh, yes, in Holland, Camber.
And then he basically spent the rest of his career playing in Ireland for Shelbourne, Derry, St Patrick's, Sporting Fingal, Dundalk, Lisbon Distillery, Cork City, Limerick, Monaghan United, Drogheda United, and Bohemians. So he's basically done the hard yards in Ireland, so he probably knows the league fairly well.
Leeuwarden being the subject of a great half-man, half-biscuit song.
Join Leeuwarden, amazing song. If anyone's
Hot balls coming home.
Amazing song.
Anyways, Keith Curl was made permanent at Hartlepool. He'd been some sort of temporary manager, hadn't he? Stephen O'Halloran.
Sorry, just that Keith Curl one, amazing timing after that, though. They announced it on the Saturday morning, wasn't it? And then they got battered 5-0 in the game that he was involved in. Ridiculous. So there you go.
Stephen O'Halloran's retired from playing. He's been around non-league for a couple of years. And Gimme Tuna released by Yeovil, mutual consent.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for him because he's clearly just not settled in the UK now, is he? I think that's been the problem.
I think it's time for him to go. I think the problem is, if he goes back to France, the level he'll play at
is very low.
I don't think he'll make as much money, will he?
No, that's the problem, isn't it, I think? And the thing is, it's sad, really, because that first few months with us, he looked so excited. He looked like he'd offered us something really different and, be the real X factor in the team. And then he got that red card against Exeter. And then not being able to have family come over, not being able to go and visit them really because of all the COVID restrictions, I think that really affected him, and he's never really recovered in that sense, has he?
I think he'd be better getting a team around the M25.
Yeah.
Where they can get a Eurostar back now and again.
Yeah, that'll probably be the best thing you'd hope. But good luck to Gimme, whatever he does next. And that's it, Dan, for this week. Hopefully the game goes ahead this weekend. Looking at the weather in Northampton, it's not getting above freezing, is it? I think until Sunday. So
Northampton have said today, John Coleman had an article that they're happy at the moment. The pitch is held up well. It's been covered for a week. They've had the covers off during the day to air it. They are expecting a couple of colder nights, but they're hopeful. I mean, we will be travelling on the Friday, so
isn't that exactly what we said? Pretty much, near enough. We said that the pitch was winning, didn't we? On like Tuesday.
Apparently on the Tuesday or Wednesday it was.
Yeah.
But it just got silly cold. So.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? But there you go.
Yeah.
So hopefully the game will go ahead, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll be back next week with an episode. We'll have the John Halpin interview episode out early in the week, but also we're going to do like a Christmas special, aren't we? I think, Dan. We're going to preview the 3 Christmas fixtures, the games against who's it against again? I can't remember.
Bradford, Crewe, and Doncaster.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So we'll preview those games, but we'll also do like a little sort of 2010-22 review, maybe looking back at what's happened.
We've got a free Saturday on the 7th, haven't we, against Hartlepool? So we could sort of do a mid-term review.
Absolutely. So we'll be doing a few different bits over the next few weeks, but just keep an eye out as usual on the usual places where you get your pods. So Dan, thanks so much for joining me.
No bother.
Thanks everyone for listening, and up the Blues.
Up the Blues.